Monday, Sudan's president was accused at the International Criminal Court of committing genocide against his own people in Darfur. Yet weapons are still pouring into the region, fueling a conflict in which some 300,000 people have died. The countdown to the Olympics in China has begun, with officials there braced for protests on Tibet and human rights. But it's claims that China has put its thirst for oil ahead of the lives of Africans that we focus on tonight. 130 athletes, some of them headed for Beijing, have signed a letter calling for a truce in Darfur. Steven Spielberg pulled out of advising the Games because he said his conscience would not allow it. The connection? Chinese weapons fueling a vicious conflict the world can't seem to stop.
Darfur. For 5 years, these deserts have been stained by the worst atrocities known to man. This is what Darfur looks like now. Hundreds of villages have been burnt across a vast area, all but erased from the face of the earth. The government of Sudan has done this, together with the Arab Janjaweed militia it uses to help fight this dirty war. Sudan's Arab-dominated government is based in Khartoum. Darfur, largely made up of black Africans, lies hundreds of miles away in Sudan's west. Plagued by poverty, Darfur's people have long felt marginalized. 5 years ago, they rose up and rebelled. The government responded ferociously. At the height of it, 10,000 people were dying a month, and it's not over yet. In February this year, this is what the government did to a whole section of West Darfur. The village that stood here was called Gosmino. These were the homes of 3,000 people. Air power and ground forces obliterated the place. This was not like the sporadic fighting more often seen now. This onslaught was ominously similar to the attacks at the start of this conflict. The attacks that led America to call this a genocide against black Africans. But much of the military hardware that's devastating Darfur is not Sudanese. So who is arming the killers? Sudan's government publicly paraded its military might in December. We had these pictures analyzed. These are T-96 Chinese battle tanks.
China is a hugely significant supplier of small arms and light weapons, as well as medium to heavy equipment right across the range up to aircraft.
The UN imposed the current arms embargo on Darfur in 2005. It's a fairly weak document. It allows foreign countries to send military equipment like this to most of Sudan. But it strictly requires these nations to stop this equipment from going on into Darfur. What's never been known is if China is violating the embargo. We've spent months investigating China's secretive arms trade, and the trail we followed has led us to this remote border point on the edge of the Sahara. The rebels up here say they've captured Chinese equipment, but to see it, we have to cross into Darfur. My past reports on the Darfur conflict caused the Sudanese authorities to ban me from the country for several years, and it's still not safe for me to enter Sudan. A panorama team took a camera across. Our team did not include anyone from Sudan. We made contact with the rebels' representatives in Europe and set up the rendezvous. The destination, a remote mountainous plateau in western Darfur called Jebel Moon.
We captured this Dongfeng truck and another like it in the same battle.
Tura Masik, a local GEM commander, showed us a model 2005 Dongfeng military truck produced in China. A truck from a batch the UN has been trying to find here for years. We verified that it had indeed been captured from government forces through testimony. The rebels had taken off its gun to use it for themselves.
The Sudanese army put their heavy guns on the Dongfeng trucks.
The truck's markings showed clearly it was manufactured in July 2005, after the current UN arms embargo was imposed. The rebels had earlier taken our camera and filmed another Dongfeng truck they said they'd captured. It had the same markings. It too was mounted with an anti-aircraft gun, this one Chinese. These guns can fire high-caliber shells designed to cut through armor. They've been used here as instruments of mass burning. They cause terrible wounds. These Dongfeng military trucks arrived in Port Sudan straight from the factory in China in August 2005. The gun on the truck we filmed was mounted later. A UN panel of arms experts carefully pieced together the story. There were 212 Dongfeng trucks in the shipment. Since 2005, the UN's efforts to track these trucks down in Darfur have been blocked. E.J. Hogendorm was on the UN panel that tried to find them.
This is a close-up of the model number on the truck. I'd like you to compare that to the number in your UN report. Can you verify that this is from the same batch of trucks, that these are the trucks you were looking for?
That it's the same batch, or that it's a truck from the same batch.
So what does this say to you?
What it certainly indicates is that those trucks were imported after the imposition of the arms embargo, which forbids those kinds of transfers.
Over the years of Darfur's festering crisis, its civilians have been systematically hunted, not just from the ground, but from the air. Villagers also talk about fighter jets that streak through, firing their weapons with devastating precision. No one has ever firmly established who supplies and maintains the fighter jets that are used in Darfur, but we've unearthed new evidence. We got access to this satellite image of Nyala Airport in South Darfur. It was taken on June 18th. These are Chinese Fantan fighter jets, or A-5s. Panorama visited Nyala and identified them on the ground. With confidential military assistance, we've established that Fantans were flying from here regularly in February. They were taking off on missions and heading west. Bebe lies in the west. Our investigations indicate that these are the only type of fighter jets that have been based in Darfur in the last 7 months. It's believed the Fantans came to Sudan before the arms embargo was imposed. But a series of photos of the Fantans we've acquired, these were taken last year, show them in Darfur being serviced. The embargo prohibits foreign servicing. We tracked down Chris Dietrich, another former member of a UN panel of experts. He spent months investigating these planes in Darfur last year.
The aircraft will be sold as part of a larger package, and the more profitable part of the package usually is the training of air crews and the training of maintenance personnel, as well as all associated spare parts.
Does Sudan have the capability to service these aircraft itself?
It has the capability to perform light servicing, but once you start dealing with the avionics, then you need foreign trained technicians. And China actually having sold these aircraft to Sudan, then you could presume that any technicians would indeed be part of that contract and from China.
We were told by a military source we can't name that these Fantan aircraft looked like they'd been serviced in the last few weeks. These are called K-8s. They too are Chinese aircraft. They were imported to Khartoum in 2006 as the war in Darfur was in full swing. They're designed to train fighter pilots. We've been told by our military source that China is currently training Sudan's Fantan pilots. A second source, well placed within the UN, backed this up.
This is the typical trainer. Once you graduate from this, you can fly the Fantan.
We've been very reliably told that Sudanese pilots are being trained by China. Does that match with what you were able to find out?
Absolutely. Any sale of aircraft or any military equipment of this capacity, you would have to have the sale involve trainers.
China is not the only country responsible for arming Sudan's government. These are Russian Mi-24 helicopters being used in Darfur. China says it's only responsible for a small part of Sudan's arms imports. But it provides almost 70% of Sudan's small arms alone. The evidence we've uncovered about China may well be the tip of the iceberg.